My name's Kyle. We're here at Shank's Mare Outfitters to talk a little bit about some cool weather paddling and the attire that you'd be wearing to do such. This is a perfect time of the year to start to think about that. The water temperature is dropping, the air temperature is very cool, and there's lots of safety considerations to think about when it comes to dressing properly to go out in those type of conditions. So first thing is first we're going to talk a little bit about layering. It's actually a really important part of getting everything together, and we're going to start by some specific layers. And we're going to start with a base layer. So our base layer, we have an example here, which is something you're going to want to use is going to be a synthetic material. It's going to want to be relatively tight. It's going to provide a little bit of insulation, but it's also going to wick moisture away from your body and not kind of trap that in. The old saying, "Cotton kills," is definitely a very important factor in this, and that's why we're mainly sticking with synthetics and staying away from the cottons. So base layers, your synthetics are going to be a very good place to start there. From there, something a little bit thicker. This is a neoprene material. It's a 1 millimeter. Very similar type shirt, it's just a little bit thicker, and it's a neoprene. Again, it's 1 millimeter and a little bit more durable. So that's going to add a little bit more insulation than the rash guard here. Alright, next layer we can talk a little bit about is going to be our base layer or our mid layer, which is an equally as important component to all this. The mid layer is going to consist, and these are just some examples here, but we have some synthetic nylon pants, which are going to be great. They're going to work really well as a bottom piece. As a top piece, something as simple as a fleece piece is going to work really well for that. Like I mentioned earlier, the cotton is what you want to stay away from. These materials are actually hydrophobic. So they're not going to want to welcome all that water like cotton will and absorb it. Okay, they actually will do that and maintain their heating qualities. So it's actually a really nice piece, to have from that standpoint. Alright, another important part that we're going to talk a little bit about is going to be extremities. It's actually one of the fastest ways to lose heat is from your head, your hands, and your feet. And there's some really simple, easy ways to kind of keep that from not happening. So first thing we're going to take a look at is going to be something called a balaclava. And these are great. These can be used multiple different ways. You can wear them as a hood, you can pull it down and just have it around your neck. There's a variety of different ways to use these, and they're all going to kind of retain that heat from escaping from your head. So even hats, anything that have wool or some sort of fleece lining that's going to provide insulation and keep you warm is going to be great for the top of your head. Next, we'll move down to the hands. We have a few different types of gloves here. Again, wool is really great. It retains its heat qualities even when it is wet. It also doesn't retain odor, so for things like socks, which we'll get to in a second, that's great. We also have neoprene gloves as well, operating under that kind of same philosophy as our wetsuits and our thinner 1 millimeter tops. Again, an insulating layer that's going to keep you a little bit warm and kind of keep that water from absorbing and soaking in like, again, those cottons will. So again, we have wool here and neoprene, both two really good options, when it comes to either feet or hands. In this case, we're looking at hands. Moving down to the feet, again, we have neoprene booties, which can be used kind of as a liner. So if this goes on the foot first and then into a water shoe or a bootie, that's just going to give you another added layer of insulation there. So something like neoprene is great. Again, wool socks are going to be perfect for that too, because they're going to retain that heat even when they're wet. Okay, so again, the kind of bottom line with a lot of this stuff is going to be really sticking with synthetics. The cotton is definitely not the track you want to go down, especially in those colder conditions. It's really going to want to take on a lot of that water, and it's going to pull away the heat from your body. From there, you can actually jump up to a wetsuit that we have here. You're still at that same neoprene material. Now you're at a 3 millimeter, so it's even thicker yet, a thicker neoprene. And with the wetsuit, just to kind of go over what the use is for that or how they work, the idea of your wetsuit is what it's going to do. The word wet, you end up getting wet, and how that works is your wetsuit is going to be on your body tight enough that there's going to be a layer of water that gets trapped in between your body and the actual wetsuit. The wetsuit and your body temperature are going to keep that thin layer of water in. It's going to become heated up using your body temp, and that's actually what's going to warm or insulate you. That's going to be your insulating layer. So you do get wet in the wetsuit, and that's actually what's you use to keep you warm. Okay, so that's a wetsuit. These are going to be really good for that kind of fall time frame, that spring time frame, when it's kind of questionable, you're in between, kind of seasons. The wetsuit typically is going to be your best bet for those kind of conditions. Next, and this is going to pertain more to the winter end of things, very cold weather, we're going to get into dry suits and dry tops. So here we have an example of a dry top. And the idea here is to keep you completely dry. Unlike the wetsuit, you're going to be 100% dry wearing something like this. You're going to notice that there are rubber gaskets at the sleeves and at the neck, which actually seal all the water off and won't allow for any water to come inside. Also, the inside of this is actually all seam sealed and taped. So the seams are actually waterproof as well, so there won't be any risk of leakage getting through the dry top that way. And that's kind of the idea behind this. Again, to keep you dry, the dry top. You can either do this with a combination of a dry top and dry pants, or there are also options to do an entire dry suit as well.